Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. We are so glad to have you with us today, and we're going to do something which I think is fun and easy, which is to make some French bread. This is just an easy recipe, and it happens to be in our book, Baking Bread for Survival and Enjoyment. This is one of our more popular books, and lucky for those of you that don't yet have it, we are going to be having a Black Friday 24-hour sale the day after Thanksgiving, and everything is 25% off. So you can pick up that book if you would like to for a pretty good price. The recipe is in the bread maker section, but I am not using a bread maker today. The only difference is the order in which you put things in the bowl. A bread maker requires a certain order, and I'm just going to use my regular way of making bread with the order that I usually do, which is to start with the flour. Now, French bread is it's very popular, and it is distinguished from other types of bread in France with the French bakers by the type of flour that is used. We can't replicate that flour, but we can do other things that will make this bread just a little bit different from the regular bread that we make. And that is the shape. The shape is going to be different, and I'm going to show you how to easily shape a loaf of French bread. And then the other thing is that we want a really lovely crusty crust. And I have a trick for that too, and we'll show you that as well. So right now we're just going to get started by taking our bowl and putting it on my kitchen scale, which I hope all of you have a kitchen scale. And we are going to measure out the flour. And we do it in grams. Don't try to do it in ounces. It's so much easier to use grams. And the recipe requires 468 grams of flour. There's our flour. So that's very easy. From my perspective, it's much easier than measuring it out. If you have to measure it out, it's about 3.5 cups. Not as accurate, about 3 1/4 cups. It is not as accurate as measuring it out in grams. And then we're going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of yeast. A tablespoon of powdered milk, and then here I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar, a tablespoon of olive oil, I'm going to put it back on this is my Ancrusher mixer, and I'm going to attach the bowl scraper and the roller. And I put the roller, because we're going to be just mixing right now, in about the center of the bowl. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a mix. And then I'm going to slowly add the water. Now that's mixing pretty well. In my Ancrusher, it is the bowl that turns and not the beater. There's no beater. All right, now I'm going to move the roller to the side and we're going to increase the speed. I'm setting the timer for 8 minutes, and it will knead for 8 minutes, and then we'll come back. So this is what it looks like. This is the perfect way to have a machine knead bread. The bowl is completely clean and that ball is rotating and turning and getting a great knead. So we are done with this. So let's show you the next step. So I've taken the ball of dough from the bowl and I'm just going to put it in this greased container right here that I use for my proofing. And we're going to let it proof until it's about double. And we will come back when we're ready to shape it, and I'll show you that. We are back and ready for the next step. So in this foil pan, I have some lava rock. It's about 1 layer thick, a little bit more than 1 layer thick. What I'm going to do with this is put it on the very bottom shelf of the oven, and then I'm going to preheat the oven to 400, and I'm going to let it preheat for as long as it takes the bread to rise to get ready to put in the oven, which will be probably about 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, before we are ready to put the bread in after it has done its final proofing. The reason is that as soon as I put the bread in, I'm going to put about a cup of water in this, and it's going to steam like crazy and will continue to steam throughout the cooking of the bread, and that is exactly what we want. That is what makes a very crusty crust. And you can really do this with any bread that you like, but it's especially important to do it with French bread. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, then we'll come back and shape the bread. Oven fan is now going, so I'm going to need to talk a little bit louder as it heats up. So I'm going to now pull this dough out. It's beautiful dough. And as I degas this dough, I'm wanting to pat it into, maybe an 8x8 rectangle. And I do want it to be fairly squarish. Okay, now this is about halfway mark right here. So I'm going to take this point and fold it flat against a midline here, and then this one also against the midline. So it's going to be thicker right here, which is going to give it its traditional bump in the middle. It's like a little hill. So then we're going to start rolling. And notice that I'm kind of pulling and stretching as I go. All right, we're coming off that little hill. And we have nice points on the end. And I'm going to put it seam side down in the middle of this pan. Next, I'm going to cover it with this tea towel and just leave it right out here on my counter. My kitchen is always at about 70 degrees, which makes it very nice for bread making. And we're going to let this rise until double, which will take, between a half an hour and 45 minutes. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to slash it and egg wash it before we put it in the oven. So we'll come back at that point. We are ready for the next step. It's all risen. It looks like it has a little dog leg here to the one side, and I tried to straighten it out, but it didn't work. So next thing I'm going to do is do a little bit of an egg wash. I have an egg here, and I'm just going to add about a tablespoon of water to it, and then just whisk it. Now, you can do an egg wash 2 ways. You can do just the white and make it all shiny, or you can use the yolk that will help it brown. And so I'm going to, or the yolk together with the white, and then like I did right here, and that will help the bread brown. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do here is now you can use a razor blade, you can use a special tool to do this. I use a very sharp serrated blade, and I just come across and cut down about, a 1/4 of an inch in 3 places across the top. then I'm just going to take the egg wash and go all over the top, getting down in the crease. And those creases, of course, will open up as the bread swells and rises in the oven. And we are baking at 400 degrees for about 25 or 30 minutes, or until the bread gets to between 195 and 200. So let's see if I got this other side. And I did. So in the oven we go. Along with putting the bread in the oven, we're going to put the water in the pan below. And the steam is being produced. So there we go. Now we'll be back when the bread comes out. Well, this just barely came out of the oven, and doesn't it look beautiful? It is kind of a half moon, but that will be fine. And I'm going to just put it out here on the rack so that we can get it cooled down. My daughter and son-in-law are standing over here. Get a quick picture. For a few minutes, and I wonder what they're waiting for. So we'll be cutting this very soon. We're going to let the first part of the heat come off of it, and then we will certainly cut into it and see what it looks like. But it's just so quick and so easy. Now, if you do not have the steam mechanism the way I showed with the lava rock in the bottom of a foil pan, you can simply use a shallow pan of water as well. Put it in the oven as you are preheating so it gets nice and warm, but it just makes such a nice crust, a very crusty crust. So I'm going to break all the rules and cut into this, and we'll see how it is. We have done another video on French bread and showing it in our bread maker. And one of the commenters under that video said that you should always cut French bread on the diagonal. Otherwise it's not authentic. So I guess we've been cutting French bread wrong my entire life because we've not ever cut it on the diagonal. So we'll go ahead and cut this on the diagonal. One of the things that we love French bread for is along with our homemade soups. So here it is. Look how beautiful that is on the inside. So crusty bread, soft inside, melt in your mouth French bread. So we're going to enjoy a few pieces of this. And next week we're going to be doing a video on roasted veggie soups. And this French bread is the perfect accompaniment to those soups. Those soups we'll make 3 of them with 3 recipes, so don't miss that video. They all ended up looking about the same, but they surely don't taste the same. They were wonderful. And so this French bread, have some on hand when you have those soups, because that will be a perfect accompaniment. So thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you very soon for more videos.